Hello, everyone. This is your host, Debra Poneman, and I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Krystalya Marie. Krystalya is a self-love enthusiast and a best-selling co-author and has been featured in books along with other luminaries such as Dyer and Deepak Chopra. Her passion is helping others create the life they desire most. When her own faith and self-love were tested by a golf ball-sized lump in her breast, and after trying multiple methods of healing, she was guided to create healing symbols that during one session removed the lump. She subsequently had various ailments, and in each case, she immediately received symbols to heal that ailment. Krystalya is a speaker, trainer, and a healing guide who's been using energy healing for most of her adult life and shares her sacred power symbols with thousands of people worldwide. And today you'll discover the beliefs that are keeping you from being, doing, and having all that you desire and deserve, why affirmations don't work and what tools do, how to attract more loving and supportive people into your life, how self-love can improve all aspects of your life, and why trusting and knowing are keys to your success. Wow, Krystalya, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Debra, thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here today.
And I am so excited to learn about these healing symbols. This is fascinating. And I'd love for you to start out by sharing what you believe to be the major turning points that allowed you to manifest this amazing body of knowledge that so many people are using around the world. And I know that you said that your healing began after discovering an underlying belief that had kept you from loving yourself. And then you had the realization that self-love was the key to manifesting your desires. And then I guess it went on from there. So why don't you go ahead and tell us all about your journey?
Well, thank you, Debra, for asking. You know, I think everybody has their story, their journey, and we all have a little unique twist to it. In my case, when I was in my very early 20s, I was married, and I found myself in an abusive relationship. And I wouldn't say it was nearly as abusive as some of the things that happened later, but I remember at one point being at my mother-in-law's house, and my husband turned around and slapped me across my face. And when my mother-in-law had an opportunity to pull me aside, she said to me, "I know he's my son, but if he ever does that to you again, you have my permission to hit him over the head with a frying pan when he's sleeping." And I thought that was so funny, and I was like, oh, I don't think that's a good choice here. And shortly thereafter, him and I split up, primarily on my doing because I was tired of those situations. But I really hadn't healed the primary reason for this happening. And so I ended up in another relationship shortly after that, in which it culminated in the fellow beating me up and stabbing me with one of my kitchen knives. And that told me I really needed to get some help, because if I was already in my 20s and I was having these issues, it seemed to me that it was only going to continue to get worse. And certainly I was blaming myself for a lot of it, as many victims of abuse do, but I was looking at it more about how could I change something about me. So I started going to a therapist, and I literally spent 13 years in talk therapy, but I was fortunate enough that that particular therapist was more about teaching me and showing me what I needed to do to build my self-esteem and my self-love. And that's not necessarily how a lot of talk therapy works, so I feel very blessed that I ended up with somebody like that. Well, I thought I had really healed my self-love issues, my self-worth issues, and yet in the mid-90s, I was in a situation where I was doing some reflexology treatments, and one evening during this treatment, I got flashbacks, and these flashbacks were to do with sexual abuse by my father. Now, mind you, my therapist had told me that my pattern indicated that I had been sexually abused, My sister told me that my dad had come on to her, and a good friend told me that she was sure I had been sexually abused by my dad. And I had no recollection whatsoever until I got these flashbacks. So it really made me realize that that had a lot to do with how I was attracting people in my life, the men in my life in particular, and what was going on, including the fact that I had a belief that sex had to do with love. Because when my dad pulled away, that meant he didn't love me anymore. And I related that sex piece. That was a piece of this. So go forward a couple more years, and I meet a teacher who does muscle checking with me about self-love, because she asked who had healed their issues about something, anything, come up and volunteer. And she did some muscle checking, and I said, oh, I've healed my self-love issues. And as I like to say, I miserably failed that muscle checking test. And she taught me about getting down to the core beliefs. So I did a lot of work around my self-love issues and so on. And in 2001, when I found a lump the size of a golf ball in one of my breasts, I was a little bit shocked because I really knew that I thought I had this whole healing thing down. So I said, I can heal this, and it didn't go away, and it didn't go away. And I started seeking other help from other people and doing the work I'd done from this teacher. Nothing was working. And one day, the medical intuitive I was seeing said to me, you need to draw those symbols that are floating in your aura. And I literally left her store, rolling my eyes and saying, yeah, whatever. But Spirit has an interesting sense of humor. So a couple of days later, I started seeing these images when I was in meditation. So I got out a pen and paper and I started drawing them. And my joke with Spirit was, can I at least take a break to go to the bathroom? Because they were just downloading so fast. And I didn't have any idea what any of them were for. And I'd ask, and they'd say, we'll tell you that later. And I'd ask if there were colors, and I'd be told, yes, but we'll tell you that later. So it wasn't until a couple weeks later that I identified the first one, which is called Love and Trust, which was all about loving and trusting the process that was about to happen. And a couple weeks later, after I started really identifying some of the other images, I had one in particular that I was guided to give to the medical intuitive to remove the poison from a spider bite. She had healed the spider bite backwards, basically. So I gave it to her, and it worked. And a couple of days later, I was in meditation, and I kind of heard this laughter sound, and they said, you know, you could use that to remove the lump from your breast, too. And I said, okay, how? And I was showing a process along with that symbol and one called the Angel of Self-Nurturing. And in 20 minutes, the lump was gone. Now, disclaimer here, I didn't actually check the breast till the next morning because I really didn't believe that this could happen that quickly. Seriously, I was like, yeah, right. But it really was gone, and it's never come back. So that's kind of how I got started with these images.
Wow. You say it so nonchalantly, and that's kind of how I got started with these images. It just took away a golf ball-sized lump in my breast. That is an amazing, amazing story. So obviously, these symbols, they're visual symbols. And what I'm seeing in my mind's eye is you drew these, they were revealed to you, you drew them and drew them and drew them, and they had different colors, and you can actually take a symbol and maybe put it on the site of the wound or whatever, and you have seen miraculous healings take place. But can you also use these symbols to heal, like, emotional wounds or psychological wounds or feelings of low self-esteem or low self-worth? Are they also used for that type of thing?
Absolutely. And because I have studied this quite some time about the emotional piece of every ailment, when I did the process, I was literally guided to do, as I mentioned, I used the Angel of Self-Nurturing, but I also did specific process to move into a self-nurturing feeling for myself and to start to change some of those beliefs that it was important to nurture and take care of myself. So in that process, that was part of it. I have symbols to help people release anger, let go of fear, do forgiveness work, abandonment work, all kinds of different emotional things. And I'm always getting new ones for different emotional things. But the primary piece of any healing in my mind is it kind of starts at the level of chakras, getting the energies clear, then dealing with the emotional stuff, and finally dealing with the beliefs, to change your real beliefs at a core level. And I have symbols for that as well.
So do you use symbols also to clear the chakras? And I think everybody who listens to these shows knows what the chakras are, but the chakras are the various energy centers in the body. So do you have symbols for each chakra to start out with clearing that?
Well, actually, I have one chakra that is called the chakra opening and balancing symbol. And what I've found with most people, I guess with everybody I've tested this with so far, I should say, because I haven't found anybody it hasn't worked with yet. I will do, when I'm speaking in front of a large group, I will ask somebody to volunteer, and I'll ask them to come up and basically have them put their arm out, and I'll do muscle checking. And I'll check each one of their chakras and have someone else writing down any that are blocked or shut down in some way. And then I hand them the image, the chakra opening symbol, and they can put it on their non-dominant hand. I don't even have them look at it. I just have them give me their non-dominant hand. I set it on it and tell them to just breathe the energy in for about 20 seconds. And then we retest, and they'll always be wide open and balanced at that point. Now, I also have individual ones for each of the chakras, and the reason for that is if you're really working on a specific issue, it can give you a lot more support than the general one. But 20 seconds is usually all you need at any one time to work with the chakra symbols.
Wow. So oftentimes I've heard people say, well, people have said to me, oh, your root chakra is blocked or your solar plexus is blocked. So you can actually use the symbol for as little as 20 seconds and unblock something that's stuck.
Yes, and a lot of people also ask me, well, what if you open them too wide? The intention behind these, when Spirit gave them to me, and it's always a prayer intention I put on, is that it balances it at the perfect level of what you need. And these symbols have two other aspects to them. There's an outer circle that's in gold around every one. And that symbol, that circle, Spirit specifically guided me to use that to allow love energy and good energy in and out, and to block any negative energy from coming in. So that's the first aspect. Then there's these 4 little locks that are in there. They look like little E letters. And those are literally to lock the energy of the symbol into the body. That's why it takes about 20 seconds to open up the energy, because you're locking that energy into the body. Now, I do want to say it's not permanent, and here's why. If you have a pattern that keeps triggering that and you don't get to that root cause and go heal the emotional piece or change the beliefs, you're going to have something else trigger it to shut yourself down again. So some people, they just continue to use the chakra opening symbols, and every time they feel shut down, they just use them again. And that helps. I just think that it's better to do the extra work and get done with it so you don't have to keep using the symbols.
So then the next step you said is something about the emotional clearing or the emotional body. Is that right? After the chakra, then the emotional before you go to the core belief. So what is that emotional piece about?
Well, that's about finding at a level what it is that's going on emotionally. So do you have a lot of anger about something? Do you have some judgment going on? Do you feel abandoned? What are your real feelings going on? And if you can identify those and let those go first, then getting to the core beliefs is a lot easier. A lot of us have major amounts of fear. I don't know why, but it seems to be one of the biggest issues that I find with most people is there's a lot of fear going on. And so if you can get to that, heal, or at least move through that particular fear, you're much more likely to get to what the core beliefs are that are triggering the fear to begin with. If you don't clear the emotional piece, you just don't quite get down as deep in the core of the beliefs then.
Okay, so then I've heard you say that there is one symbol that gets right to the core beliefs.
Yeah, it's called Straight Past the Core Beliefs, and it's a symbol that helps people literally in seconds to minutes start getting to those core beliefs. And the way it basically works, again, is you hold it in your non-dominant hand and you journal. And you basically hold the intention while you're writing whatever comes to you that you're clearly showing what the core underlying beliefs are that have kept you stuck. And let me give you an example of a core belief, which I alluded to at the beginning of this talk, and that is I had a core belief that God was going to punish me if I loved myself. Well, all the affirmations in the world about I love myself weren't going to do a whole lot if I didn't get to that core, which is what my teacher finally helped me identify. So what this symbol does is helps people find what that core underlying belief is. Now, I have one other symbol that helps people that are really, really blocked. They don't feel like they're really getting all the way to core, and it's called removing blocks. And so I have students that when they use that second one, find that stuff will come up like regurgitated almost, where they're like, I can't even believe I ever had this belief in my consciousness, and yet I know it to be true now that I'm seeing it on paper.
Ooh. So they hold the symbol in their non-dominant hand and they journal. And so it's just that it comes pouring out and they could write it down, like all of the things that are blocking them when they're doing the straight path to core beliefs. It kind of explain that again. How does it work? You journal about it?
Right. You journal about it. So what I typically do is I actually do a little statement. Dear God, higher spirit, whatever word you want to use for that. I even invite my angels in, whatever guides I have, and I'll tell them what issue I'm working on and say, I actually do. I am deep gratitude for the guidance that I'm asking you to provide me right now to help me understand what is the core belief that is keeping me stuck in abusive relationships, as an example, or stuck in my financial situation and not being able to get out of it. And then I just tell people, write whatever comes to you. And in fact, at first you might just write down, this is stupid, I don't know why I'm even writing, until you're used to it and you get into the flow. But you just keep holding that intention, and pretty soon you just start getting a download. Most people get between 2 and 3 pages of beliefs they have about themselves that they weren't even aware of.
Wow. So I know that a lot of people do journaling or spontaneous writing, or some people call it sitting for ideas or sitting for guidance. But what you're saying is that when they have this symbol, because it removes blocks, then that knowledge comes much more fluidly, effortlessly than it would if we were just simply writing spontaneously or journaling. It's like a booster. It amps up the effect.
That's a good way to say it. Yes, absolutely. That's what it does. It amplifies the effect and helps people get to it much, much faster.
Good. Well, these are the times that we're moving very quickly. So I just get that this is one of the tools to facilitate that very rapid growth that we're already experiencing and hungering for. And then once we figure out what those beliefs are that are blocking us from prosperity or blocking us from having the relationship that we want, then what do we do with that? Is there another symbol we could use?
Yes, I like to say there's a symbol for that. There definitely is. So I have one that's I call it either installing new beliefs or transforming your beliefs. And what that one really does is helps us get through the process much faster. So in between finding out what they are, you want to decide, first of all, what you want your new beliefs to be. And that's a really critical, important step, because we could install the wrong beliefs too, and we want to be careful that they're very positive and all of that. But what happens when we get to the installing new beliefs, once we have all of these affirmations that we want to do, is it's a one-time process. Now, when I was taught to do changing real deep beliefs at a core level, I was taught to do it twice a day in front of a mirror and then write them in red a third time each day. Now, I did this for 21 days. And one of my things when I saw how powerful this work was when I had the lump removed from my breast so simply, I'm like, okay, can we make this other stuff as easy for people because we are all so busy and we all want quick transformation. And so what I find when people use this whole process with the installing new beliefs piece, they install the beliefs, and now it might be 50 or 60 new beliefs here. But when they're done, they can typically stay strong in those. So what I tell people to do is muscle check them 10 days later. And if there's any place they're weak, then work forward from that point through the rest of them. And then check them again at 20 and 30 days. And if they're solid at 30 days, then work on something new. And that's pretty much what most of my students do, and they find it very effective.
Hey, 20, 30 days, in a lifetime, that's okay. Well, it's so amazing to me that it could be done in one session. I mean, you could check it 10, 20, 30 days later, but it could be gone in just one session, which is astounding to me. And I just have the thought, I know that you talk about intuition, and a lot of people have intuitive thoughts or feelings, and yet we discount them. And I believe that you have a body of knowledge or a theory or a feeling about the importance of listening to our intuitive thoughts and also discerning which of the thoughts are actually from spirit. I would love to know that, because sometimes we think, is this a good thought from a high source or not so much?
So I think intuition is so necessary that it can save your life, and it has saved my life. I was driving down the road in my early 20s. I remember all of a sudden having an intuitive hit. I'm on like a 5-lane road, so the person coming towards me in a center left turn lane, I have somebody to my right, and I'm in the left of the 2 lanes, and I suddenly get a hit that light's going to change, that person's going to turn in front of me, and I better know where the person is on my right, what they're doing. And I quickly checked where that person was. The light turned yellow. The person stepped on the gas pedal that fast, okay? And I knew what to do, and it was all intuitive. I put my car into a sideward skid. The skid marks on the side walls of my tires were up the side 4 inches. But I really don't believe I'd be alive today if I had not listened to that intuitive hit. So, yes, it's absolutely important. And in some cases, you don't have time to question it. You just trust it. In some cases, we do. And I think the minute we start questioning it is when we're letting the ego get involved. But it's really easy to let the ego get involved. So I do have a symbol that helps people tune into their intuition. And I also have another little cute process that I do if I have allowed my ego to get involved, or I think I might have, when it does happen. And so what I do, you're going to love this, I put out the intention to Spirit not to give me a sign, but I tell Spirit what the sign's going to be, and I make sure it isn't a sign that I have any control over. So I had an experience not long ago that I was getting all these people calling me saying, don't do this, and yet I felt guided to do it. And I'm thinking, okay, it's insane that I'm doing this. So I said to Spirit, okay, and I happened to be somewhere that I had not seen butterflies in weeks. I'd been there for like 5 weeks, had not seen a single butterfly. I said to Spirit, when I go on my walk tomorrow, you show me a butterfly if I'm supposed to continue down this path. Otherwise, I'm going to start listening to all my friends. So I found myself looking for butterflies the next morning. I'm like, okay, I've really messed this test up. So I said to Spirit as I went into meditation at the dock where I was walking to, I said, show me a colored butterfly, because all I'd seen at this point were white ones. And I'm in the middle of meditation. I hear, open your eyes, and about 5 feet in front of me is a black and orange butterfly. Mm-hmm. So I set up tests like, if so-and-so calls me by X time, then that means this, and otherwise it means that. But here's the real key to it. You have to trust it. You have to follow it and not doubt it when you do get that message, because if you don't, it won't work for you. And you have to really trust it and move forward each time with what you're guided to do.
So if you put out that, like you did, okay, if I'm supposed to do this, I want to have some experience of a butterfly. And then there's the butterfly. And then what a lot of people do is that will happen and they'll say, oh, that's just a coincidence.
Right.
And what you're saying is trust it. Is that just because that is spirit speaking to you? Or do you actually believe that if we don't trust it, that it's not going to continue to happen? You tell me, what are all of the reasons why it's important to trust it?
I think that what happens, at least has happened for me and my students when I've shared this, what we find is that the more we trust it, the more we get good intuitive hits. Or maybe it's just we're more aware, but we start building that muscle of doing what we were guided to do. It's like if you say to spirit every time, well, I don't believe that, and I don't believe that. Well, then why give you signs? Because you're not going to believe them anyway. So in my opinion, if we follow that path, what happens is we get more signs, and it becomes easier and easier. And that's really what's happened for me, is it's become easier and easier for me to get signs and understand what the signs are because of that.
Fabulous. Now, I know this is kind of an obvious question, but is there a symbol that we can use that would increase our ability to trust?
Yeah, in fact, I think I mentioned when I first was telling my story, I have one that's called Love and Trust. That was all about me learning to trust the process and know that there was love there supporting me. See, I see God as love, spirit as God, all of that. It's all the same thing. It's love energy. It's that highest vibration energy. But yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important that we trust because of what I've just said a minute ago. It's like as we trust more and more of that guidance, the more guidance we get.
Okay, very good. And also, I understand that you believe that trusting is important to the manifesting process. Is that different than what we've already talked about? Because I guess manifesting is a different path than just knowing and trusting. So how would that trusting increase our manifesting power?
Well, here's the piece for me that I've seen happen over and over. When we trust and we stay in that flow, we're no longer doubting what we've put out there. One of the problems I see in the law of attraction stuff that goes on out there is we are constantly focused on what it is we want. And we have not let go and started to just trust that it's going to happen. And so as we keep focusing on it over and over, and I'm not saying not to do vision boards or any of that, but if we keep focusing on it too much, we have told the universe we don't expect this really to happen. We're just, we're focusing almost on the idea that it hasn't happened. If we can let go and trust and know that it is going to happen, it's just a matter of it's already happening. You just don't see it in front of you yet. That's when miracles start to happen.
But it's hard to let go. I mean, let's say that you desire so strongly to find your soulmate, that you have had a life where you've had relationships, but you never feel like you had that one, that soulmate, and you just crave that. And you do all these things, you feng shui your bedroom and you put up your vision board with you and this person, walking down the beach and whatever, but you find it hard to let go because you feel that if you let go, it's not going to happen. So what do you say? What do you say that would be the much more effective way to bring that into your life?
So just what you just said a minute ago is you feel like it's not going to happen if you don't let it go. In other words, you're trying so hard, you're trying to control it. And nothing happens in our time. As I like to say, we plan, God laughs. Nothing really happens in our time. It happens when it's right and perfect timing. And as you cling to it and try to control it, you're basically pushing it away. So what I try to get people to understand is the best thing you can do is trust and let go. And using that symbol, love and trust, will help you to do that. And I'm not suggesting you not do the feng shui. I think that's great. You need to do the feng shui. You need to do the vision boards and all of that. And then you need to know that it is already done. It just has not come visual to you. Can I give an example of one that really was very trying for me that I went through a huge experience with? Would that be helpful?
Yes, absolutely. That would be great.
Okay, so I basically, in the early part of 2005, woke up one morning, called my broker to transfer money to my bank account to pay my mortgage payment. And at the time, I thought I had around $100,000 sitting there in investments. And he said to me, "What money?" So I was basically broke, and I had not been paying attention. I was busy focused on stopping a con artist. Anyway, I went into freak out mode, and things got worse before they got better. And I was doing all the different things that you typically do, putting up a vision board, meditating, all the different things, and nothing was getting better because I was in such a fear state about what was going to happen. And I finally realized one day that if I just moved in to trust and know that everything would work. So I put my house up for sale. My realtor that I sold me the house called me and said, "Are you out of your mind? You'll never get that much money. You need to lower it by $25,000. And I hung up the phone and left it listed for that. A few months later, I got guidance to raise the price. Now, I didn't know where the mortgage payments were coming from, but every month, somehow I had the money show up different ways. Over the long run, after I moved into this trusting and knowing process, I raised my listing 3 different times. I started at $225. The final listing was $277, and everybody thought I had lost my mind, but I just trusted and listened to my guidance, and it sold for cash for $265.
Whoa.
All because I let go and just listened to guidance. And I mean, everyone had thought I had lost my mind. The realtor even wrote up the last thing when I told him to change the price. He sent it to me the wrong number because he just didn't even believe I told him to put it at $277.
Wow. Okay, everybody, you hear that? Go with the intuition and trust, and that is such an amazing example. As a matter of fact, can you lead us in some kind of process or meditation or guide us through something so that we can be where you are?
Well, how about if I lead us on a little meditation where I actually transmit the energy to open everybody's hearts and allow them to start attracting more loving, supportive people in their life? How would that be?
That would be excellent.
Okay. So I'll just remind people, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. So if you're driving, please don't do this exercise right now. Otherwise, I want you to sit quietly and close your eyes. And I want you to see this beautiful image coming into your body from the top of your head, just like a golden light surrounded in pinks and purples and a light bluish color. And have it come in through the top of your head and down into your chest, filling every cell of your body or surrounding them all with this energy. And as it comes into your chest, I want you to feel your whole heart center start to open, just in little waves initially. You just feel these soft waves of love energy flowing out of your heart. Take another deep breath and allow those waves to go out further and further and further so that the room you're sitting in is filled with this love energy. Know that if anyone were to walk into that room, they would feel the difference and the change of the energy. They would feel that love. Now, push the energy out into the rest of the room or the rest of the house or the building you live in. Again, just feel the waves of love energy going out in through the whole building that you're in. And when it reaches all those walls, let it expand out into the city. and then out into the state or country you live in, and then even let it go into the water so that it fills all the water on the planet gradually. And then what I want you to do is intend that everyone you come in touch with feels that loving energy. You literally start to draw people towards you that love and support you and care about you deeply. They're not judging you. They're just loving you. They're allowing themselves to open up and love you just like you love them. And again, just feel the energy flowing out from you, and then feel yourself attracting loving people towards you. And again, breathe the energy out, pushing more love energy out. And then as you breathe in, feel loving energy coming back into your body. And just continue to breathe deeply and feel the sensations, the waves of love energy going out, coming back in. And now what I want you to do is see more and more loving people coming toward you. If you have conflict in an office, see yourself having a loving conversation with whoever you typically have conflict with. If you have conflict in your home, see yourself having a loving relationship with that person and being able to communicate on a loving, supportive level. And now take another deep breath. What I want you to do next is know that every time you think of this moment, the moment you think of this, how you feel right now, you are back at this space and time, putting love out into the world and bringing love back in and attracting more loving people. So it's as easy as just remembering this moment, noticing how you feel, and being able to bring yourself back here at the snap of a finger just by your thought. And now I want you to just come on back to the present moment, and I'll count backwards from 3 to 1, and when I get to 1, you can kind of blink your eyes and come on back into full conscious state. 3, coming back gradually. 2, 1, totally back in your body and conscious of what's going on around you.
Oh, that was lovely.
You like that, huh, Debra?
Yes, it's one of the drawbacks of being the host that you have to start talking again. And the rest of you just keep floating in that. That was divine. And just that energy. You know, a lot of people say, have white energy come in through your head or through your crown chakra. And you said pink and purple with blue. And wow, that was some nice energy. Did you send that to us? Because that was really nice.
I did. That's actually the primary colors within the image for opening the heart chakra. So yes, I was actually transmitting that energy to everyone. And even people that listen to the replay of this, they'll also get the same benefit from the recording as the person listening live.
Lovely. Okay, we'll take it over and over and over again. We will. And while I was in there, I actually, as I was coming out, I had a question. Do new symbols continue to come to you?
Good question. Yes, they do. And I have a list. Oh, gosh, I can't even tell you how many I have that people still are asking for. But I have over 500 images now. And usually what happens is someone will ask me for something, and I'll ask if it's now or if there is a symbol and if I can have it now or when I can have it. And so, yes, I have lots of them coming to me. The other fun part is I realized somewhere in the process that I probably knew these symbols since I was a little child, because for me, most of them are like doodles, and I find myself drawing these little symbols all the time. And so I stick them away and ask Spirit to tell me what it's for later. And I have all these, so I think I've probably been drawing them my entire lifetime. I just didn't know what they were for a long time.
Oh, that's so interesting. So you draw it, and then later Spirit says, oh, yes, and this is the one that is the symbol that removes blocks, or the symbol for love and trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one other question. If somebody were to work with you individually, do you create symbols just for that person, or is that not necessary?
For the most part, I do not do that because it's not typically necessary unless I don't have something for the specific issue they have. On the other hand, I do create personal power symbols, which is a totally different thing.
Okay. Yeah, I guess with 500, there should probably be something for everything, some symbol for everything, like stopping smoking, addiction. I bet you have something for everything, huh?
Well, if I don't, I ask Spirit first if there is something, and I typically ask if it can be given to me for the masses versus just one person. And I've never been told no at this point. So there may come a day where they're only for that person, except when I do like a personal power symbol, that's different. Those are unique. But I mean, for the most part, when it comes to a health thing, I typically ask for one that will help everyone with that problem. So I had a gum problem as an example, and I have a symbol specifically for my gums to get them healthier. And I was working with another friend who does sound medicine, and she created sounds that were specific to my problem, and the symbol was specific to any gum problem. But the two together helped a lot. So sometimes I have to work with other people's work as well. But for the most part, I do my own first.
Very good. Okay. Well, we want to hear more about, I love all of the different examples that you have shared with us. Can you share another, I don't know, one or two or three amazing turnarounds that you've seen from people who have applied what you teach?
Oh, I'd love to do that. So probably my favorite one is one with a baby. So I was driving back from Colorado with a friend back to Sedona, and she was pregnant. Her midwife had given us permission to travel, and she went into labor. And she was saying she wasn't feeling well, so we stopped in this little town, and it was a very small little town. And we got in the hotel, and I was paying attention to what she was doing. We called the midwife and so on. And pretty soon I realized she definitely was in labor, and I got her to the hospital. Within 15 minutes, she delivered the baby. And the baby was 10 weeks early, and he wasn't breathing well, and they wanted to air vac him to the closest big city, which was maybe an hour's drive from where we were. And yet we wanted to be back nearer to her home so she could be with her new baby all the time. So I quickly got out symbols because the first thing he was having trouble with was breathing. And they were basically saying he'd never make it all the way to Arizona. So I started working with his breathing. I put the symbols on him. And pretty soon the doctor came over to me and she's like, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, it's really working. And he can now travel to whatever hospital you want to take him to. And she said, and if you've got anything to build his immune system and keep him from getting any infections, put it on him now. That little boy loves my images. He is 10 years old now. He loves working with them. For a few hours before we found out about it, his eyesight problem, I knew exactly what symbol to give him, and it actually helped his eyesight dramatically at 3 years old. And he's just had lots of wonderful experiences with it. Another one that I'll share was a client I was working with who had done my classes and had some good results, and finally said to me, I've had great results with the classes, and I'm feeling like I need additional support. She's like, I'm in lots and lots and lots of pain all the time. Do you have any specific symbols to help me with pain? And I said, sure. So I put together a pack of symbols for her. And this woman was what I call chair-ridden. She basically couldn't get up out of the chair other than to get from the chair to her bed or the chair to the toilet or something like that. That was about it. She couldn't get up and do any housework or anything else around the house. Well, she failed to mention to me that she was allergic to MSM. And I do draw symbols that are vibration of the supplements. And so I included that one. And she, instead of asking me about it, dismissed it saying, oh, it's a symbol, it's not the real product, so I won't have any reaction. Well, she actually did have a reaction to it because she's allergic to MSM. But then she ended up using the rest of the pack after she figured out not to use that symbol. And what ended up happening was the day later, her husband was yelling at her and her family were yelling at her that she was going to overdo because she was up out of the chair and she was doing all kinds of things around the house that she had not done for a year or more.
Wow. Okay. So that is amazing. And actually, I have something to share with you. My friend Cindy used your symbols, and she told me that, actually, I think that her testimonial is even on your website, but she said that by using your symbol in 1 or 2 months, I think it was 2 months, she brought more money into her life than she had in maybe 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, you know who I'm talking about. Am I telling this right? Because she also said she got a new career offer, something that was totally in alignment with her heart's desire. Just everything opened up for her. I know it's a mutual friend of ours, right? And mm-hmm. Was there anything more to that? Because I just remember the making more money in 2 months than she had in 4 years and having this new career. And that's contributing to the world in a really incredible way.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much the story. She took the prosperity program and included with it was a consult, and we kept playing tag back and forth and never actually getting to connect. And when we finally did, it was right around that time when she landed the job that ended up making her, like you say, more money than she'd made in the previous 3 or 4 years. I can't remember how many years it was. It was at least 3. It might have been 4. And it was absolutely a job that was in total alignment with what she had wanted to do for a very long time, and she's phenomenal at it, and she's still there.
Yes. Well, so we are very anxious to hear what you have to offer us, because I know that you created a special offer for everyone who's listening to this call. So you can experience today's package, which is really, really exceptional, by just clicking on the special offer button that you'll find on this page. So, Krystalya, can you tell everyone what they're going to find there?
Well, first I'm going to say that the first 2 pieces of this are what I call my signature programs. They're the most popular. One is a 7-part program that's called Art of Healing Body, Mind, and Spirit, that really teaches you how to do a lot of the healing of the emotions and the beliefs and all of that around anything. It's more generic. It's healing body, mind, and spirit. It includes 7 90-minute audio classes and the transcripts, all the class handouts, the processes that you'll be taught, and it also gives you 26 of these sacred power symbols. Along with that is my other signature program, The Art of Prosperity, which you just heard about our friend that manifested the job. That includes, again, 7 more audio programs that are 90 minutes long, the transcripts and the class handouts, and an additional 45 symbols with that one. With all of this, because I believe that it's so important to write good, strong affirmations, after you learn all that, you get to send me or my staff your affirmations, and we review and give you feedback on them. So that by itself is like $500 of value. Then I've thrown into that, along with all of that, a chakra opening and balancing meditation. You use the symbol, but it also gives you a kind of guided meditation that goes with it. A world peace meditation, also me guiding you on how we can create more peace in the world. A program that I call Preventing and Overcoming 7 Causes of Illness, and that's got handouts as well as MP3. then because self-love is so important, I've actually written a book that I now call Power Symbols for Self-Love. It's an ebook that's included with the program. Then for those that know what Ho'oponopono is, and for those that don't, I should say, I put together 2 audio programs. One that's a subliminal, you can play 24/7, and the other is a meditation that just repeats the primary statements, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And it just creates such a wonderful, nurturing energy in the home. So those 2 audio programs. Then I have 3 self-love subliminals, and one's a subliminal that you can play 24/7. One's a meditation for relaxation with those self-love affirmations. And the third one is one to help you go to sleep listening to self-love affirmations. And I have 3 also for healing, for total health, because I believe one of the most important things for our health is to keep telling ourselves, I'm totally and completely healthy. So those affirmations are there to really strengthen your belief about how healthy you are. And then 3 other ones for prosperity that are all similar format to the self-love 3. So the total value of all of that is $828, and we're doing a special for $97.
Wow. 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 So the one that, for example, is for inducing sleep, you could just put that on, and then it will allow people, even if they might have some problem going to sleep, that will help them to fall asleep more easily.
Yeah, actually for each of the different levels, the self-love, each one, the self-love, the healing, and the prosperity, each have one for going to sleep. So you basically have a sleep induction binaural underneath it all. So you're going to play it just for the hour. You want it to go off. You don't want to listen to it all night because it could interrupt your sleep level. But you're basically listening to that, programming your mind with the affirmations while it induces sleep.
How fabulous is that? Wow, this is so complete because it's not only how to use the symbols, it's not only that we get so many of these symbols, but we also get all of these subliminals and the binaural. I don't know if everybody knows what utilizing binaural, maybe they do because they've listened to some of my shows, but can you explain that a little bit for people who don't know what that is?
Yeah, the basic concept of these binaural beats is they take the brain to different states of alpha, beta levels based on bringing you into that quieter state. So they basically, the sound is taking the brain into these different levels. So in the case of sleep induction, it's taking your brain down into that level to help you go to sleep. The one for relaxation is just going to help you relax, but it's not going to take you so deep you're going to fall asleep. And that's the idea, is it's just beats in the sound that take the brain into the different wave levels that we want it to be in based on what we're trying to achieve. So I have some as well to do focus and different things as well for the same idea for myself. I do that all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. It's like they get everything in this program. And then also you receive downloadable products as well. Is that written products?
Everything here is all downloadable. Every bit of it is downloadable.
This is fantastic. And $97. Wow. Thank you so much for creating this. And what would you say, just in a few words, what would you say would be the most common experiences that you have seen people have by applying this program in the short term and then over time?
So in the short term, what most people experience is more peace, less anxiety. They're more able to relax easily. And the other piece short term is they're getting clear what their beliefs are and what they want to change them to. And the final piece on the short term is that they start to feel less anxious about different emotions they have. So they've started to clear them, and they're feeling more open, more relaxed. Long term, what ends up happening is they find themselves staying in those states, no anxiety. In other words, instead of just less anxiety, it gets less and less to the point where there is really no anxiety in their life. They find that they can relax more easily. They fall asleep more easily on their own. They don't need subliminals after a while. That's typically what happens. It just seems to be like you start out here, and if you keep doing the work little by little, you start to discover that you're just in more of peace and harmony with life, and less things trigger you. You're more easily able to just like deal with things and go with the flow the more you do this kind of work.
Just more effortlessly just be in that zone.
Right, right.
Effortless zone. Ooh, lovely. We're all for that. Well, my dear, this has just been so absolutely amazing. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with everyone before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I think my final thought for the listeners is this. If there's one thing you can do for yourself, start to love yourself more and start to nurture yourself more. And so if you can just promise yourself to do one small thing every day just for you, even if it's only 5 minutes now, just one small thing a day for yourself, your life will start to get better.
Beautiful advice. And I would say maybe the one small thing today is to get your wonderful offer. It's going to be my one small thing.
So if this resonates with you, I strongly encourage you to click on the special offer button to learn more.
So either that could be the wonderful thing we do for ourselves, or else we'll just go take a warm bath. But either way, I just want to thank you so much for sharing with us. This has just been really, really phenomenal. And I thank you for this. And I also thank you for just everything that you're contributing to the world. I'm so glad that those symbols came to you, because I just know that they have just contributed to so many lives. So thank you for sharing with us today, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Debra, thank you for having me on the show today. It's been absolutely wonderful being here, and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to share with your listeners.
Well, we're the ones who are grateful. So thank you. And thank you to everyone for spending this time with me and with Krystalya Marie. And I look forward to when we're all together again. This is Debra Poneman. Have a wonderful rest of your day.